And we are back with more thoughts and players. And we are moving on to our favorite segment, your favorite segment, the Geese's and the Birds favorite segment. That's right. Was it worth it? And for this, was it worth it? We have Cory giving
Yes.
us his impression slash review of
Metroid
Metroid
Dread.
Dread.
I didn't know if I was supposed to say it. Oh, jeez.
All right, it's all right.
Oh,
It's all right.
jeez.
It's all right. As you know, we cover 5 categories of visuals, sound and music, story, the technical aspects, and the gameplay. But before we do that, we should give you an overview of what Metroid Dread is. Cory, what is Metroid Dread?
Yeah, Metroid Dread is a third-person action Metroidvania. If you don't know what a Metroidvania is, it comes from the original game Metroid, where you go through this big map and you collect power-ups, and the power-ups are used to help you get through previous areas where you couldn't access them before. And you kind of go through this map, collecting power-ups, getting stronger, and getting more abilities that help you traverse through the map and finishing the game. And Metroidvania is a very popular genre. A lot of them are in 2D, but there are some 3D Metroidvanias. This one is in 2D. But yeah, that's pretty much the overview.
Nice. So let's do a breakdown. Now, this is obviously a Nintendo game, a Nintendo Switch exclusive.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk visuals. What are the visuals you would give for Metroid Dread?
All right, so this one was tough. I kind of described it to my buddy as they are almost good.
Okay.
Like they're almost good. Like Nintendo does a great job of art styles, and even though they don't have a powerhouse console, you look at something like Breath of the Wild or Mario Odyssey, any other first-person games pretty much, and you think they look amazing.
Mhm.
Metroid Dread went with a little more of a realistic approach. Not totally realistic, but a little more realistic, and they can't really pull that off. It almost feels like someone tried to make a mobile version of a really, really good-looking game, like a really good-looking game.
Yeah.
It doesn't quite hit. It's very close though. Like at some points, if you squint, you think this game looks amazing in every which way. It doesn't look bad, but I wouldn't put it as great. And like I said, it's almost good, but not quite there. It's close, but it's not unappealing.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Like, I completely understand where you're coming from.
I described it as kind of like Ocean Horn compared to Wind Waker. Do you know that mobile game Ocean Horn?
Yep.
It looks like Wind Waker, but not quite.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how. Yeah.
I gotcha. Yeah, I gotcha. Okay. Now, how would you describe sound and music? This is a little bit interesting because we're dealing with the Switch here.
Mm-hmm.
So, did you play it mostly docked or any kind of mobile aspects at all?
Zero mobile.
Okay.
Mobile. I don't play Switch Mobile really, but yeah, 100% docked. Metroid isn't known for voice acting, and in this one, it doesn't really change. There's sounds that the characters make. They talk in like a different language, and never Samus. And then there's a computer that talks, and that's fine. The music is pretty good. It's Metroid 100%. If you ever played a Metroid, it's the exact. I would say even some of the same tracks for the most part. Very atmospheric, very sci-fi kind of alien world type of music, if that makes any sense at all. But yeah, the music is pretty good. The atmosphere with the music is great. So not bad here.
Okay. How would you describe the story then? Metroids usually have a story. So
do they?
They usually do.
Do
so,
they?
Yeah, they usually do. So how would you describe the
Keyword
story?
usually.
Okay, so Samus crash lands on a planet, and she falls to the very bottom of the planet, and she loses all her abilities. And the first thing you kind of have to do is make your way up through this planet, through the different biomes, and get your abilities back. And as you progress through this, you uncover species that you might have seen in previous games. You figure out a little bit of the origin of the Chozo, which is the warrior race or a peaceful race. There are kind of two sides to it where Samus was kind of raised by. And I wouldn't say the story was great. Some of the moments in the story are really cool. Samus, while not speaking, has some really just cool moments when she's in cutscenes and she versus bosses. You know, it looks like she can handle her business, and I really enjoyed those aspects of her like personality, where it was a little bit cocky, but yeah, the story itself not anything to write home about.
Okay. Not anything to write home about. Would you say it's like a meh kind of?
Yeah,
Just
I mean, it's really just it's not on the forefront. You know, it's not
gotcha.
something you really think about. It's not even something that drives you from place to place.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, technical aspects. Did you have any technical issues with the game?
Thinking back, no, none at
No.
all. Ran perfect. The loading was maybe a little bit longer, but I'm used to that sweet SSD now. So anything over 5 seconds feels like an eternity. So
Yeah.
it wasn't bad, but yeah, a little bit of loading. They kind of hide it. You know, when you're going up elevators, they show a cutscene of Samus just standing there and it takes about 20 seconds. You know, it's a
Okay.
loading screen, but yeah.
Right.
So, but besides that, really good.
Okay. Well, then let's get to the big one. Gameplay.
Yes.
It's a Metroidvania. A lot of
Whew.
gameplay there. How would you describe it?
Yeah, the gameplay is fun. Samus is a bounty hunter with a suit, and she has a like power gun. So
Hmm.
almost like Mega Man, where she can shoot bullets out of her gun. You're traversing this world. Like I said, it has different biomes. A lot of fun. The platforming is really good in this. Samus moves very quick. She has really fun jumping abilities where she can like wall jump, and they use that to really good effect to make it feel like you're kind of flying through these levels if you want to. Previous Metroids were a little bit slower, and that gets a little bit dull.
Yeah.
The gunplay is really good. For the most part, you shoot where you're walking, but you also do have with LB, you have a stand still button where you can then aim your gun in any direction, and that is really precise. It works really well. Some of the gameplay features that they put in these. They're called Emmys, which are like these robots. I don't know if you guys seen them in the trailers or anything like that.
I think so.
There,
Yeah.
yeah, there's certain zones that you go to and they track you down. Now,
Okay.
initially, these were pretty fun. You know, I got to the first zone and the Emmy was chasing you. And as long as you were good enough at platforming, you could escape them. And I thought that was a really good thing. It brought a tense moment. As the game gets further on, they get much stronger abilities and you cannot run them. You have to almost use stealth. And like I said previously in this level, I'm not a huge fan of stealth. And there was even spots where they take place underwater, so you're moving like a snail, and that wasn't too fun. Some of those took a long time, but besides those, the game really keeps the content coming. Now, like I said, Metroidvanias, you get these power ups, and man, I didn't know Samus had these many power ups, but you get them constantly. I beat the game in 8 hours. You get a power up, I might even say like every 20 minutes. You know, first thing you get is like a missile, and then you get a new suit, then you get a double jump, then you get a dash, and then they just keep the power ups coming, and it feels really good because in games we love collecting new things. Now, I thought that was a huge positive for me, but there is a downside to that. So at the beginning of the game, you're playing and you're killing enemies in 1 or 2 hits. You get to the next biome, and the enemies are a little bit harder. You know, it takes them a little while longer to kill them. As soon as you get that power up, though, it's the same thing. So it's almost, if this makes sense, like you're playing at the same rate the entire game. Because as soon as the enemies get a little bit harder, they give you a power up that takes care of them.
Hmm.
I thought it was fun, but other people might, like my buddy, he was not a fan of it, you know, because it feels similar throughout. And I guess another thing I could say about the gameplay is the bosses were a lot of fun. Now, if you read reviews, a lot of people kind of pumped up the bosses, and I would say for good reason. They were kind of innovative. There was platforming to go along with the shooting. They do recycle a couple of the mini bosses, which is kind of a shame, but for the most part, bosses real fun. Gameplay excellent.
Nice. So kind of almost like the inverse of the Elder Scrolls problem, where the world levels up with you, you seem to level up with the world, and it equals out.
Yeah, it does
Yeah.
really equal out. Which, like I said, I would rate that as a positive for myself. I felt like I had fun with it, but I could
Yeah.
see where it would be a negative for some people.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot there. So we take into account visuals, sound and music, story, technical gameplay. The game goes for $59.99 right now, right?
Yes, yes.
Was it worth it, Cory?
I'm a little stuck on this. No, it's not worth $60. It's a 2D Metroidvania, and I wouldn't even say it's the best in its class. I would say something like Hollow Knight is excellent in all regards. Dead Cells, while not strictly a Metroidvania, is really, really good. There's a lot of really there's a lot of really, really good Metroidvanias for Ori. Ori's are amazing. And they really have those graphics and the fidelity that really shine even for a 2D game. Metroid doesn't have graphics like that. And for $60, an 8-hour game, it's just not worth it. It's not, which is weird because this is definitely going to make my top 10 of the year. It's a very good game. It really is, but it's not worth 60. I can't say it is. That's that's very expensive. And the production value isn't there.
Yeah.
And when you compare it to other games of the genre, it's slightly below the best ones. And those best ones, Hollow Knight retails for $15.
Right.
You can get 30 to 40 hours of gameplay in that. There's optional bosses, there's secret areas. Metroid is, for being a Metroidvania, it's pretty straightforward. I know there's some ways to break the sequence and kind of get through quicker, but there's not much to discover.
Yeah.
So, great game, not worth 60.
Do you think it's a blind spot for Nintendo there? Is it an area they maybe not realize they've been outclassed in for a while now? Because Hollow Knight and Ori, those aren't games that came out this year. Those are 4 or 5, 6-year-old games.
Right. No, I don't think Nintendo cares. I think Metroid sold very well from the last time I read. It sold like gangbusters. So, and people really wanted a 2D Metroid. You know, it's one of the premier franchises in all the gaming in terms of, you know. So, yeah, I don't think Nintendo cares. They put out a good product, but it's not top of the class. And when you're asking in terms of Hollow Knight, you're asking for 3 times the price. I have an issue with that. Not everyone's going to have an issue. Some people are happy just to play as Samus and play in that world again, and I can accept that. But for me, $60, not worth it. I did end up trading it in already because single player game, it doesn't hold much replay value for me, and I did get $43 back from GameStop. So it cost me 17. For $17, it was worth it. 100%.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Not worth it, but will probably make your top 10 list because we are in a very bad year for games. Because everything got pushed in next year. So, okay, there we go. Not worth it, guys.